What's up, everybody? Another evening edition of Wakanda Whiskey and Blurredom, your late night happy hour show. I'm your host, Paul, and with me always is my partner, Marc.
What's going on?
Power bump.
I got it right.
Look at you. All right. So, what are we getting into tonight?
How do we always start? It's always about the whiskey.
Well, it's about the comic books, but yes, the whiskey with the comics.
This week, it's Uncle Nearest Rye. For any of you guys who've been following us for any period of time, you would know that over the past probably 6 months or so, we have been trying to focus on Black distilleries. Uncle Nearest is one of the more prominent ones because they've got a phenomenal marketing team. Uncle Nearest is the individual who taught Jack Daniels how to make his whiskey. And the young lady by the name of Fawn Weaver, probably about 8 to 10 years ago now, started a distillery in Tennessee called Uncle Nearest, based on Uncle Nearest. Nearest Green was his name. When they first opened, they had a groundbreaking in 2019 that I went to. Had a phenomenal time. It's about 2-3 hours away from Atlanta, so I drove up for the groundbreaking. At that time when they first started, I don't think that they had their rye yet. They just had a couple of their bourbons. But now they have a rye. I can't say that I've ever had this, so this will be my first exposure to the rye right here. Now, typically, I haven't been a fan of rye from other companies. There's one called Greenwood that I we previewed a couple of months ago. That was actually really, really good. So this will be my first time trying the Uncle Nearest rye. So let's see. Oops.
I tried the same whiskey. Ooh, is there an echo? That's weird.
Just might be your smoke detector chirping.
Yes. For those who watched me last time, I still haven't fixed my smoke detector. I know it's embarrassing. I've been busy all week. I've not come upstairs to fix my smoke. I'm embarrassed. Okay, let's let the cat out the bag. Let's talk about it. It's been talked about. Let's move on.
It's not bad. I forgot the one thing that I did forget was to bring me a little bit of water to try to open this up. I'm not going to say this is horrible for me. I think the Greenwood rye is better, but this isn't bad. I want to say I paid maybe $55 for this, and I would say it's worth about the $55 that I paid for it. I'm still tripping off that Fort Mose that I have that I bought from the Florida distillery. Not a fan of that, and I don't think it was worth what I paid. But I think this will be definitely worth it. I'll probably make an old fashioned with this later on in the week. And
Now
I
there's
will
three. There's three of them. There's this one. There
there's
is
before 1868 or something.
1856.
1856.
Let me share. I thought I had it right here on the screen here.
Now I will say that if you want some good drinking, get the Uncle Nearest 1856 and the other one. I can't remember what year it is, but that's some good drinking. I used to buy Uncle Nearest like once a month when I first discovered it a few years ago. Very good drinking.
Here's the
Okay,
whole clan.
1884, 1856. Yeah. Hmm, okay. I haven't had that blue label rye. I'm curious about that. I haven't had that black label next to the left of the 1884. I haven't had that either.
Yeah, I haven't had those either. I will say the 1856, in my opinion, was the best one. At least it's the one I've tried that I like the most.
Right. It's been so long since I've had either one of those that I'm gonna have to go and buy a bottle of each and see which one I like the best. But if
Challenge
you have the
accepted.
opportunity to go to their distillery, highly recommend you guys try to take that trip, take that journey. I don't know when they're open. I'm sure you can go on their website, give them a call, find out when they're doing tours and when they're open for tourists and whatnot. But I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. One of the things that I want to do is I want to go on the Bourbon Trail in in Kentucky. I want to do the Bourbon Trail because a lot of the distilleries are there. Like I want to say like Buffalo Trace is there, Jack Daniels is there. That's on my bucket list.
Well, all right. Now, normally in this portion of the show, we move on from whiskeys to Wakanda, but we wanted to do a little something different tonight. Um, One of the things that's important for us on Black Comic Lords in our community is celebrating the talent of many of the Black comic creators that are out there. This is particularly important for the older generation of Black comic creators who have, for decades, gone unrecognized for their contributions to comic books and comic book culture, um, and specifically for Black comic book culture. Um, and I mentioned this before on Wednesday. For those that did not hear that, um, there was one artist that was truly responsible for me getting into comic books hardcore. Um, although I had started reading comics when I was 4, I didn't get my first subscriptions, an ongoing subscription to comics, until later on. And the first comics I ever got ongoing subscriptions to were G.I. Joe, Iron Man, and Star Wars. And 2 of those comics, G.I. Joe and Iron Man, were drawn by this artist here, Mr. Marc D. Bright. Got into Iron Man because of James Rhodes making his appearance in Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. Started a subscription with Iron Man number 200, which later led it into the Armor Wars storyline, all drawn by Marc D. Bright. He also did some work on G.I. Joe for a few issues as well. But he had a very long run on Iron Man. And that's where I first discovered him. I didn't even know he was Black at the time. I found that out later. But I've always followed his art on books that he has done. And a large portion of my comic collecting catalog that I own has this artist in it. He is a tremendous loss to comics. Although from what I understand, he has been out of the comic scene for several years now. The fact that neither Marvel or DC Comics, both of which he's worked for extensively. He's done a lot of work on Green Lantern comics. Neither one of these companies have released any statements about this man. Neither one, not one. That's a damn shame, considering the amount of work that he's done for both of these companies, and the fact that his artwork was part of an alleged upcoming series that Marvel's doing, Armor Wars, with James Rhodes. I hope they at least give the man credit on that. But I just want to make sure that we give recognition to a true loss to our community, Mr. Mark.
So here's as I've said on this space a lot of times. Back when I first started reading, collecting comic books, I never at any point in time paid attention to the creative's work, right? I've been doing better over the past 2 to 3 years. Now, a couple of days ago, I discovered that Mark Bright had died. It was mentioned on Twitter. I want to say he died around March 27th, March 28th. We didn't have a show last week. We would have mentioned it then, but he died around March 27th or so. So I went and looked through my collection on CLV app to see just what of his works I have. And I have a lot of his artwork, both as a cover artist and the illustrator for the books. one of the books that I have that he worked on was the Falcon book, the 4-issue limited series, the Falcon book from like 1983, 1984. You have a black writer in James Owsley, aka Christopher Priest. You have the black character of the Falcon, and you had a black artist in Marc Bright. So, what conservative white folks would say now, that book was woke before woke was a thing, right? As Paul mentioned, Iron Man. I was a huge collector of Iron Man even before James Rhodes got involved or got into the suit. One of the things that I'm surprised Paul didn't mention is Mark was the artist on Hardware early on. So he was a tremendous artist. He left a huge legacy, and he will, I'm sure, be missed by those who loved him and those in the comic book industry. You know, when certain people die, like Neil Adams or George Perez, in a particular company's books for a period of time, they will have an insert basically giving tribute to that particular artist who has passed. And I wonder rhetorically, because I know they probably won't, whether or not they will give Mark Bright his due as they should. So, but yeah, he was something significant in the comic book industry. You know, Paul said that he didn't know he was black. Back then, you know, back in the 80s when late 70s, early 80s when I first started reading and collecting, unless you saw them in like some magazine, there was no way for you to know that they were black because there was no internet. You know, there were not a whole bunch of comic book magazines about the industry at the time that you could discover about who these creatives were if they weren't featured in like the bullpen in Marvel, you know, so there was really no way for us to know that. But he was diligently plugging along behind the scenes, and he needs the credit that he deserves. So,
Yeah, I
RIP.
mean, he did a lot of work with Christopher Priest. If you do a search on Marc Bright and go through his works, you will see he did quite a lot of work with Christopher Priest, who actually did an interview recently where he talked about and shared his feelings on his friend Marc Bright. Mark mentioned his work in Milestone. He actually worked on all of the major Milestone books, all four of the original ones at one point in time. But the one book that he had he was sort of the premier artist on, preeminent artist was on Icon. He was the ongoing artist on Icon. In fact, he is credited as being one of the co-creators of Augustus Freeman Icon himself. So,
Who had
you know,
shown up in Justice.
he also again, we're talking about Christopher Priest. They created the Quantum and Woody series for Image. It was Image, right?
I'm not sure. Something is saying that it's not, but because I had never heard of that series before until somebody mentioned it. But it very well could be, but I just don't recall. I really don't.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the people in the chat. Shout out to Bo Biggs. What's up, Bo Biggs? From across the pond. Knew who says he knew him as MD Bright. I always knew him as MD Bright myself too. He drew Tony Stark with the Jerry Curl and perm. Yes,
That was a
that's
classic.
exactly how I remember him. I mean, there were things that he did in his art that gave you clues that he was black. First of all, he drew, James Rhodes looking like a black man, but I swear he made like noses a little wider and lips a little thicker, and he literally, as Bo Big said, he gave Tony Stark a Jerry curl. I don't care
Wasn't
anybody
that
else says.
Curl? Didn't
That
Tony
was
rock
his
the
look.
Jerry Curl in the cartoon in the animated series in the 90s?
Say again.
I said, didn't Tony Stark rock the Jerry Curl look in the
He
90s
had
cartoon?
he had a mullet.
Hmm.
He had a straight up mullet.
So I'm thinking that the animated version of Tony Stark was based on Mark Bright's artwork, I think.
It's quite possible. His Green Lantern stuff was great, and he did a G.I. Joe issue with Snake Eyes, getting his most recent costume. Yes, indeed. Yes, he did. Derek, whoa, what's up, man? And
What's
it's
going on?
Paul smoke detector. Yes. We covered that, Derek. My smoke detector has still not been fixed yet. I gotta get the battery and stick it up in there. So yeah, just wanted to don't want to belabor the point, but I really
You
hope
gotta
these
recognize
companies
somebody who's important,
show some love to this man.
right? Gotta recognize the folks who are important, who look like us, who are in the industry.
He's a major guy. He's a
Yeah,
major guy. He doesn't get enough recognition. He doesn't have as much name recognition as a lot of artists, but he
right.
deserves it based on the quality and the quantity of prominent work that he has done in the comics industry over
Yep.
the course of his career. So, shout out to MD Bright. Condolences to his family and friends. Um, we will remember you and we will miss you, sir. All right. With that, let's move on to Wakanda whiskey and the Wakanda part of Wakanda whiskey and blur them. But before we
So
do that,
there were no Black Panther books that were released within the past 2 weeks. We didn't do a show last week. There was no Ultimate Black Panther or regular Black Panther that was released because Dr. Ewing's run is done with the main continuity. So what Paul and I have done is to fill this particular space up is we've gone back, dug in the crates, and we have been reviewing the priest run of Black Panther, which is volume 3. At this point, we are on issue number 5. Now, the release date on this book, the publishing date is March 10th, 1999, right? So this book is literally 25 years old. I probably haven't read this book since the early 2000s, and I had no independent recollection of this storyline. And let me tell you, I'm glad that we're doing this, going back into the crates and rereading this stuff because it's really, really interesting to see the character, how Priest developed him. Um, Priest has written a lot for DC recently, and I've had issues with how he breaks up the stories, and I just didn't remember that he was doing that in this run. Um, a lot my minor criticism is how there does not appear to be a direct flow, like chronologically storytelling. He kind of hops around a lot in this book and in his storytelling, and it can be somewhat discombobulating at times. But then when he focuses and takes us on a story, it's good. It's really, really good. And up until this point, T'Challa is facing off against Marvel's version of Satan, aka Mephisto. And Mephisto wants T'Challa's soul. And that's what he is after. That's the goal of the devil. And T'Challa, being the T'Challa that he is, that we have come to know him as, faces off against a mystical being or entity.
hold on. But before you get into all that, you're skipping over some of the things that happen. Um, one of the things Mephisto does, just to recap, T'Challa is in essence gone to Mephisto's realm, hell, however you want to phrase it, to confront Mephisto. And he emphasizes as he's leaving to confront Mephisto to Everett Ross, don't be afraid of him. He can't force you to go into hell. He can't force you to give up your soul. He can't read your mind either. He can put all types of illusions together, but he can't read your mind. He can't read your thoughts. So he emphasizes these things. But what's powerful about this story in defining T'Challa is the fact, and I said this before, T'Challa's superpower isn't simply the heart-shaped herb enhancing his stamina and his strength and his senses. It's his mind, really. The man literally thinks 5 steps ahead. The fact
He's
that
one
he
of the
hasn't
best
even
at
engaged Mephisto yet, and he's already telling Everett Ross, here are the things that we know about him, here's our defenses, lets you know where his head is at. But it's also foreshadowing on the strategy that he's going to use against Mephisto later on in the book, which becomes important.
Let me
Go ahead.
say this too, real quick. What Paul just said is very, very important because one of the books that we're going to review in a little bit is a modern book, The Avengers, that T'Challa features prominently in. And you see this version of T'Challa from Black Panther in the Avengers book, in that he is a tactician and strategist who pretty much doesn't have many peers. He thinks 12 steps ahead and understand. And I was about to address what you're talking about, but I wanted people to understand that Mephisto is a cosmic type entity, right? He's supernatural, he's immortal, he's very smart, and he's super strong. But T'Challa shows no fear in going up against this creature, not only going up against him, but going up against him in on his own domain where you would think that he had home field advantage. But T'Challa was like, not so fast, my friend. Go ahead.
The other thing that you get from the stories, if you look in the cover here, you see T'Challa as a child. There's a flashback to his origins, so to speak. The interesting thing about Black Panther, and this is a bit of a tangent, but just roll with me on this. The interesting thing about Black Panther in comics, and people don't really talk a lot about this. I know many of us Black Panther fans don't, but his origin is kind of jumbled up, depending on what writer is writing him.
He's been retconned several times.
He has been retconned a lot when it comes to his origin, particularly the most by Reginald Hudlin, which is one of the better runs, if not the best run, arguably, depending on your viewpoint.
He's the best run.
But yeah, his origin has changed depending on who's writing. The difference between not McGregor,
Priest.
Wait, McGregor did do part of it.
See, I don't remember in Jungle Action him McGregor showing T'Challa as a child, but then again, I haven't read those books in quite some time. I don't remember him going.
We know that part of his origin was told in Fantastic Four 53, I believe it was. And then we also have this one in the Priest run. We have Reggie Hudlin. We have Rise of the Black Panther. The Rise of the Black Panther by Evan Narcisse. He also did his own version of his origin. But yeah, everyone's got a little different take on it.
So let me just interject this. One of the things across at least two of them, because I don't remember Rise of the Black Panther, because it's been 8 to 10 years since I read that. But in both the Priest run that we're reading and reviewing now and the Hudlin run, is that Ulysses Claw was the cause of the demise of T'Challa's father, right? Mm-hmm. The way it happened is different in both, though, because if you remember the stop motion cartoon animated series that was based on the Hudlin run, the way T'Challa's father, was killed was different than the way Priest first presented it. So the question is, which version are you as the reader going to accept as fact? Personally, I prefer the Priest run. I didn't mean that. I prefer the Hudlin version. What about you?
I like the Hudlin version because it took a different nuance on it, and the Hudlin version was actually recreated in a just 2 years ago in that that Black Panther book they did for kids.
Legends?
Legends? Yes, I think that's what it was. Black Panther Legends. They took from more of the Hudlin version as well. Right. I like that version because the alternative is the version where Claw comes to Wakanda, pulls out some guns, and just kills Wakandans. So, which is what we have here.
Wakanda, that's something that had never happened before.
Right. It's kind of like, you've got this country that's never been defeated. They send people home in body bags all the time is what they say. But yet Claw comes in, he's got his mercenaries with him, and he's able to just shoot them easily and subdue them. And it's just, that never really sat right with me, honestly. The version that Hudlin did, the world knew about Wakanda's resources and they wanted to take it. And so King T'Chaka takes his family. And here's a very important distinction with Reggie Hudlin's one that no one ever talks about. T'Chaka takes his family to the summit in Switzerland or wherever the country is. And he has this great scene where there's like, yo, I know you guys are not used to having a black man who's not persuaded by a bag of money, a bunch of blondes and whatever, um, promise of clout, and he'll willing to give you whatever he wants, but have some dignity. You guys could have had these things yourselves if you weren't so greedy. Cures to cancer, you could have had that already. I like that scene. It really defined who the Wakandans were. It helped to define who Black Panther was as well.
Charlie, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I'll say
Well,
about that,
T'Challa through his father.
right?
Um, and
Hut,
the other interesting thing that no one ever mentions in that version, T'Challa had an older brother.
right. I was just getting ready to say that. Hutland gave Wakanda, the nation, more of its badassery, right? Because as Paul just said, during this run of Priest, Claude just comes in and basically sets up shop and is about to wreck stuff until young T'Challa, who's probably between 9 and 12 years old, is able to stop him just on a fluke. In the Hudlin run, Wakanda is this mystical place that has never, ever, ever been defeated. Anybody who comes, they wipe out everybody and send one person back to tell the story about you don't F with Wakanda. And as Paul just mentioned a moment ago, in the Hudlin version, T'Challa isn't even the heir to the throne. He's the spare.
Yeah.
T'Chaka had two kids. Well,
Three.
three. What I was just getting ready to say that because I don't remember during the Hudlin run that Shuri was there in Switzerland with the entire.
Ramonda was pregnant at the time.
What? Okay, okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah, she was
So
pregnant.
basically, like Paul just said, T'Challa had an older brother who was probably roughly around 11, 12 years old, who was murdered by Ulysses Claw. That's the version of T'Challa that I have in my mind when I'm thinking about the story, that he is the second in line to the throne behind his older brother, whose name I do not know or remember at this point. But back to this version, back to this run. Um, it's we get to see T'Challa in his full glory as a tactician. Um, he's trying to follow Mephisto into hell. I don't know if you want to pull up those pages, but instead of following through the gates, T'Challa must have been like a lawyer in his previous life because he knows that if he followed Mephisto into hell through the gates, he would be subject to the terms that Mephisto set. But he doesn't do that. He goes over the portal and enters hell, right? So that kind of gives him some leeway to do X, Y, and Z. But T'Challa, faces off against Mephisto, and Mephisto basically wants T'Challa's soul in exchange for all the souls of the Wakandans. And T'Challa's like, yo, that's easy. Bet you can have my soul. But then he knows that his soul just isn't his. It's his soul plus all of the previous Black Panthers who have come before him. T'Challa is much like the Avatar in that all of his previous incarnations, or not incarnations, but all the previous Black Panthers, they don't reside necessarily in him the way that they do with Aang or any Avatar, but he has access to their spirits, to their knowledge, to their wisdom. And that's what T'Challa knows he's going to use to fight Mephisto. Because that's all what Mephisto is about. Throughout the Marvel Universe, he's always trying to get Norrin Rad, aka the Silver Surfer, who's one of the more noble creatures in Marvel. He's always trying to go up against Thor, who's also very noble. T'Challa has knowledge of this. And he's like, okay, I know that this dude's going to want my soul. I'm going to give him what he wants and then some. And so Mephisto is trying to absorb all of the Black Panther souls, but it's just too much for him. He overloads him with what he wants. And Mephisto's like, yo, I can't handle this. And so T'Challa has found a loophole for Mephisto to say no mas. And once Mephisto says no mas, all other deals are off the table. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he completely outsmarted Mephisto.
Yep.
And the foreshadowing was at the very beginning where he tells him, look, Ross, he can't read your mind. He can't force you into deals that you don't want to be forced. You can't enter his realm. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thinks 5 steps ahead. Not a single punch was thrown.
No.
He defeated him with his mind.
Yep.
But you also got this whole flashback sequence on it really was an origin story and this is what issue 5. So we're 5 issues in on the priest run, and this is the first one where he does an origin story on T'Challa. Now, the thing is, as I said, every writer has their own take on the origin. This one is kind of questionable because at the time that this is being done, Mephisto's also doing illusions at the same time. So some of what you're seeing is what Mephisto's showing T'Challa to try and mess with him. So I hesitate to say that this was Priest's definitive origin on T'Challa because a lot of it's intertwined with what Mephisto's showing T'Challa just to mess with his mind. In fact, there's a scene where he's actually talking through T'Challa's dead father, T'Chaka.
Yeah. So even though Mephisto couldn't read T'Challa's mind, the fact that Mephisto knows how T'Challa came to power, how he defeated Claw, much definitely shows that he was paying attention to this individual. Um, it's interesting that he would pick out this kid to pay attention to, but it just shows you that what he, as a demon, as a higher echelon demon, wants. He wants noble souls. And throughout the Marvel comics, as I said a moment ago, that's what he's all about. He's all about trying to corrupt a noble soul. Two of the main characters in Marvel that he's always going up against is the Silver Surfer and Thor. And the priest run is the only time that I can recall that he went up against T'Challa. I mean, if you know something else than that, I'm not aware of. But this is the only point in time that I recall that he did that.
The interesting thing the way this also ends is, the second villain of the story is Achebe. And Achebe is like a really dope villain for T'Challa because he doesn't have any physical powers. He's not
He's
a
T'Challa's
better
Joker.
fighter.
He's
He is
T'Challa's
literally
Joker.
T'Challa's Joker. He plays head games with T'Challa, and it makes sense that Mephisto would use Achebe as his vessel, his avatar on Earth, because Mephisto really can't be powerful on Earth. He's kind of powerful in the hellish realm, but not on Earth. So he uses Achebe as his avatar, and it works because Achebe is like, he's like a psychologist,
Like
and
a
he
PhD
messes,
psychologist.
huh?
I said like a PhD psychologist.
Yeah, he's like a PhD in psychology, and like he's also like a ordained minister or something like that. He's got a degree in theology or something. So he's able to sort of tap into, from a larger sense, what makes people tick in terms of their faith and belief, but also be able to make like these psychological games with people's heads towards his own machinations. And he sort of Priest ends this issue by revealing that T'Challa is basically sort of somewhat ousted or exiled from Wakanda.
Yeah, we don't know why. I don't recall early on in the first 4 issues that we've already done previous to this why T'Challa once again has been ousted as the ruler, but he's
Well,
basically
they kind of talk.
yeah we do because he
Yeah, we
came to
do.
New York to work on try to solve some crime, and then while he was away, Mephisto propped up Achebe, right?
Right.
And so now that Mephisto has taken his power away from Achebe, T'Challa can potentially come back. But what we see in these scenes right here is that T'Challa's stepmother, Ramonda, played ably by Angela Bassett, who is not a Wakandan, she's a South African. But there is, even though T'Challa is the king and in essence the ruler, there is still a council that makes decisions in his absence. And what we see in these panels is that Ramonda is saying, well, look, the even though Achebe is no longer going to be in charge, the council has said, T'Challa, you can't come back. And then what we see at the end is that Ramonda is the Mac is the one behind the curtain who's pulling the strings. She's the one who wants to be in charge and is working with T'Challa's enemy. And I had completely and totally forgot about that aspect. That makes me look at this character in a completely different manner during this run. That's not who Ramonda is under the Hudlin run, but
Well,
in
she
the
was
first run
controlled, but
for
she was
this.
kind of controlled. But we'll get into that later on. But that was this issue.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Like reading these books again is like reading them for the first time because I have no independent recollection of them. And then
Right.
when I saw that scene, I was like, "Oh my god, what's going to happen next?" So I'm looking forward, honestly, to reading it again.
Hype Style says Achebe was definitely a top villain for T'Challa. I'd like to see him return as a villain in the new comics and also menacing people like Luke Cage and Blade. Yeah, I mean, it'd be dope. Imagine if Brian Edward Hill were to bring him back in an ultimate universe, like an ultimate version of Achebe. That would be
It
dope.
would be a good version for Blade because Blade would just lop his head off. I mean, let's think about it.
Yeah,
That's what would happen.
Blade doesn't really think.
Blade doesn't play those mind games.
Yeah, he just,
Yeah.
he's a man of action.
Yep.
All right, so we're not going to conclude our Black Panther portion, Wakanda portion yet. There is a book that's coming out on Tuesday. Let me pull this up. For all of you hardcore Black Panther fans, it's called Black Panther T'Challa Declassified. It's written by Maurice Broaddus, presented by Marvel Comics. This is a book, not a comic book or a graphic novel. It's a book. It does have pictures in it. But it is in essence a deep dive as to who is T'Challa. You know what's interesting? When you look at several of the Black Panther runs, that is actually the title of a few issues based on what writer it is. Who is Black Panther? Who is the Black Panther? And that's a question that has really been a theme throughout the characters' various, incarnations in whatever volume it is. People are constantly trying to define who this guy is. He's a man of mystery. Because again, his superpower is really his head. The fact that he has all these machinations going on in his head, he's thinking 5 steps ahead at all time. He doesn't tell you what he doesn't show his hands. And you never know what he's up to. And he doesn't tell you until it's already done. And that's what makes him such an enigma to many people. So they're constantly asking people, who is the Black Panther? He's asking himself who he is because he's torn between his duties as king and his desire to really sort of more be an avenger than a king. So that's an interesting thing. So this book really sort of, it has notes, interviews, and files from the Avengers archives in defining who T'Challa is. And in doing that, the way this is written, it's done like literally that, like interviews and reports of various characters on T'Challa in trying to define who he is. And it goes through the entire history of the Black Panther in various volumes. I'll read this portion of it. He's a king, a hero, a loving brother and a son, a husband to a goddess, the orphan king, the Haramu Fall, the Damisa Sarki, and a man facing his doubts, his failures, and his destiny. Revisit the life of one of Marvel Comics' most iconic and inspiring characters via in-world interviews, journal entries, newspaper articles, and intelligence briefings from S.H.I.E.L.D. and other agencies. Black Panther T'Challa Declassified draws on more than a half a century of classic tales to present an insightful, completely unique, and completely personal take on one of the most talked about heroes of all time, featuring the perspective of T'Challa's most important allies and enemies, including Shuri, Queen Mother Ramonda, Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, Everett K. Ross, Eric Killmonger, and the White Wolf, and accounts of some of Marvel Comics' most memorable moments. This first of its kind archival collection is a must-read for all fans of all ages.
That just shows you how important that character is, but they decide to kill him off live action. Will not stand for that.
We
Recast
will not
T'Challa.
stand. Recast T'Challa. I was fortunate um, to get a copy, an advanced copy of the book on behalf of the Black
Any of
Comic
that.
Lords,
Cannot see that.
and asked to, Oh,
Can't see it,
can't
Paul.
see. Sorry. Let me.
You get rid of the background. If you get rid of the background.
Well, the fact remains, I got an advanced copy, and I've started reading it. It really is pretty good. My only criticism of it so far is that it is all black and white. It has some pictures in it, but all the pictures are not in color.
You've got the comic books for that.
Huh?
That's probably the thing. A, they're probably thinking, okay, you have the comic books for that. B, let's save some money on the printing.
Probably, yeah. Probably saving the money on the printing. The paper is not the higher end quality paper. But let me just read the table of contents so you have an idea of what the book entails.
You can tell you're old when you got to put the glasses on to read.
Shut up.
Hey, look. Hey, Paul, look. I got mine too, fool.
Yeah, but I don't look as old as you do when I do it. All right, so number 1, Origins. Number 2, The Making of the King. Number 3, The Rise of the King. Number 4, The Rule of the King. Number 5, The Fall of the King. Number 6, The Return of the King. Number 7, T'Challa Forever. So the whole book.
How many pages is the book?
It's 268 pages.
Jeez. But some of that is pictures, though, right?
No, the pictures aren't very big.
So they don't take up whole pages. Just like...
No, they do not. They do not. Yeah, the whole book is 268 pages.
Well, I can tell you guys that as a T'Challa fan, as a Black Panther fan, I just found out about this book earlier this week on the Twitters. And so I didn't know that it was a book, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was going to be some type of comic book. So what I'm going to do is I will see if my comic book store is going to get it. If not, I will be ordering it from Amazon because I think it drops on Tuesday.
It's on Amazon. It drops on Tuesday. If you pre-ordered it, you should receive your copy on Tuesday. As I said, I have mine here. I've started reading it, and hopefully, I think we may have the opportunity to interview the writer, I think on Tuesday evening. We'll let you know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Tuesday evening. So check us out on Black Comic Lords on this channel for the interview of the writer of this book so we can talk about it. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. All right. So with that, we are going to take a short commercial break and we'll get into our reads of the week. But of course, I can't find the commercials because Derek, our producer, doesn't choose to actually group them together with the word commercial all in one section, which would be logical, but he doesn't do that.
You might want to have a conversation with him so we don't have to do this every week.
Every damn week.
You might want to have an off-camera conversation with him.
I've tried. I do it on the camera. I do it off the camera. He doesn't do it.
When you go to an art museum and you see pictures on the wall, what do you think? I can tell you that a picture cannot audibly speak anything. Yet you will be challenged to find something, however, that doesn't speak louder. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that is how I justify buying black books at times solely for their covers. Sure, I would love for the story inside to be amazing. I would love for the writing to capture my attention and hold my thoughts for ransom. Yet I have experienced a world of story in an image. I am drawn in by drawings and pulled in by paintings, not having an inkling of the message communicated by the ink. For my mind has made up its own mind, and it has told me it does not care what the artist creates. For I, a created being, see me in the work. I see my babies. I see my ladies. I see my brothers. I see my fathers. I see my people. I see my equals. I see everything and anything and something completely different from you and you too. We see the same shapes and colors, but not the same images. Beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder. For I beheld a canvas that canvassed my heart and mind, giving me peace, giving me sadness, and giving me anger, giving me love and giving me hope. So when I see comic books with a face like me, I see a story where half the story has yet to be told, because truly it can't. After all, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Dear Mr. Billy Graham, I know this letter is late, but you know what they say, better late than never. And I'm writing to you because I know you'll never read this or hear this. It's a measure of therapy for me, I guess. Wondering how you never get mentioned when you are really only one of the few worth mentioning. After all, I don't think Sam and Dave had you in mind, but without question, you are a soul man. How else can you explain how a man can draw tears so well if he never shed any tears of his own? Yes, and I hear music, especially drums, when I see jungle action panels. And when I see Luke Cage panels, I hear the jukebox blaring out horns in the after hours joint. I guess I'm trying to say, Mr. Graham, that I dig your style, and you deserve to be celebrated like the heroes you drew. And like I said, you won't see or hear this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Thank you, Mr. Billy Graham. You are a Black history legend. Respectfully, the Black Comic Lords. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, peace.
And we're back.
So
Black
we have
Comic Lords in the
our
building,
comments.
Uncle Whiskey and Blurredom. And we're going to our Reads of the Week portion.
What are
of
the
show.
comments, though, before we go there? What are some of the comments?
The comments. Issue number 5 was my favorite Christopher Priest Black Panther comics. Thank you, Jay.
You know what? That's as we go through this, I will say I'll figure out which one is my favorite. I'm not
What's
gonna
up,
say that as
Louisiana
right
Kid? Thank you for being here. Derek says, can't hear your shade over that smoke detector call. Derek has
That's
jokes.
funny. That is funny.
Derek is quickly becoming the bane of my existence. Frustrated, dude. Seriously, you were doing so much better, man. You were showing up on time, and now you still be going back to being. At least you're here. We appreciate you being here.
It's Friday night. You could be out in the club doing anything. Thanks for being here. Bo Biggs, $10. Thank you.
Bo Biggs with the $10. Thank you very much, sir. And with that, you go.
R.I.P. Chadwick. It has been 4 years coming up this August that he's been gone. That's crazy.
Yep. Listen, everyone who's watching, if you're digging the show, if you're here with us, please take a moment and hit the like button at the bottom of the screen. If you're new to us, you have not been here before, you're digging the content, please subscribe to our channel. It helps our algorithm and allows us to keep doing the show every week. So,
And thank you for being here, actually.
And thank you for being here. It's free to help us out, to keep giving you this dope content. Appreciate it. Did y'all read Aagon by Frustrated Flame? I
Nope.
did not read Aagon. Not yet. I do have a copy.
Can't see that, Paul. Can't see that. Can't see it.
You can see it. No, you can't. No, you can't see it. All right.
Right.
Well,
That's what I'm telling you. You got to get rid of the background if you want to put stuff up.
my background. Let me take off my background here. I don't know how to do that. Anyway, I have not read it yet. I'm looking forward to reading it. From what I could tell so far, it's in essence a Thor meets Infinitum meets Conan the Barbarian.
What company is that from?
Aagon, Brutalizer of Gods.
Now we can see it. Aagon.
I recommend this book, even though I haven't read it. I have thumbed through it, though. I read the first couple pages, and then I was like, oh, crap, I got to do that Wakanda Whiskey and Blurred Them show, so I got to stop reading it. But yeah, the artwork is spectacular.
It's from a company called Oni Press, it seems like.
It is. Oni Press. The writer and artist team of Moriwe Ayodele and Doton Okande. They did the last work I bought from them was I Am Iron Man for Marvel. They're doing kind of a retrospective of Tony Stark throughout the generations, throughout the decades.
How many issues is this Aagon?
I don't know. It might be an ongoing. It's as many issues as you guys buy.
Okay, but how many have been released thus far?
This is the first issue. It just came out this week.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you pick that up.
I'll look for it.
Let's see what the other comments here. Frustrated says, I think Marc will really like the book because he's a Conan fan. Yeah, I think you'll like it too. I agree.
That it was a combination of Thor and some other stuff. And for any of you guys who've been following us for any period of time, Thor, for a very long time, was my favorite comic book character. I like Thor. He's my he's top 10. But I love that type of mystical sword and sandal type stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to it. I'm going to try to find it.
Couching and Slouching with C. Bizzle. What's up, Brian? Good to see you, man. Y'all check out his channel. Couching and Slouching with C. Bizzle does comic book reviews. Real good dude. Hit him up on YouTube. So what's the first book? Oh, we didn't do a show last week. Because I had to go out of town and do some family stuff. But Marc felt passionately about one particular book from last week that he wanted to talk about this week. So we're going to talk about it.
Let's just be clear. It's not that I felt passionate about it, but it's one of the
books. Oh, I'm throwing you under the bus, my friend. I'm throwing you under the bus.
It has been one of the books that we've been discussing over a period of time since it's been coming out. Amazon Attacks, because the book features Nubia, who is a Black character who is the literal queen of the Amazons right now. And the last issue dropped last week. Paul doesn't like the book, or didn't like, I'm guessing, the conclusion perhaps. I think the motivations of the main villain, quite frankly, was rather stupid. But yeah. I did like the book. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 7.5, right?
Really? High.
Yeah, I enjoyed it because I'm really digging Nubia.
I dig Nubia too. That's why I didn't like the book.
Right. I've been seeing in this space a lot over the past, few months, is that I'm now collecting and reading more DC comic books first run than I ever did when I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, I probably got Teen Titans, and that was about it. And Death and Suicide Squad. So 3. There are 3 books that I probably got back in the 80s. Suicide Squad, Deathstroke, Teen Titans. Currently, I'm picking up no less than probably 4 or 5. Anything that has Nubia in it, I'm going to get. I enjoyed the fact that she's in this book. Basically, without giving any spoilers, the United States of America government is against Amazonians because there was a terrorist attack supposedly committed by an Amazon. and the main villain kind of set things in motion in order to get Amazonians back where they're supposed to be in somewhat of a subservient position, which I just thought was absolutely stupid. Amazonians are immortal warriors, almost goddesses in themselves. The fact that the villain wanted them to be subservient to males was just downright dumb. But again, the fact that you see Nubia front and center as the warrior queen, I absolutely enjoyed. So overall, I enjoyed the story. The ending left me flat. It reminds me of how a book like Eve. Paul and I read Eve a couple of years ago. Eve, issues 1 through 4, 1 through 5, whatever the issues were up until the final, we enjoyed. But then the final left us flat.
It
I will
was
say
clearly rushed.
overall, the final of this left me flat. For those of you guys who are Game of Thrones fans, seasons 1 through 6, spectacular. 7 and 8, not so much. Same thing can be held here. Issues 1 through 5 are pretty good because you don't know what's going on, you don't know who's doing what. But then when you peek behind the curtain in issue number 6, it's like, that's it? Yeah. The ending was disappointing, but overall, I did enjoy the story, personally.
It portrayed Nubia. I'm a big fan of Nubia. She's one of the best superheroines at DC Comics. But this series had her do things that seemed uncharacteristic for what we have become accustomed to seeing for the Nubia character, with Stephanie Williams or let's say the other writer, the really great writer, Joelle. I can't remember her name, but particularly with Stephanie Williams, she's not confident. She seems to have a lot of self-doubt. And quite frankly, her power set seems to have dropped off. She's getting beat up by like random people. Like, she's supposed to be superpowered. She's supposed to be able to like fight Wonder Woman.
Nubia is one of the strongest Amazonians there is. She may be a little bit smidge less powerful than Wonder Woman, but she's like top 3 with her, Wonder Woman, and Hippolyta, who's now a goddess.
When Nubia first met Wonder Woman, she was about to defeat her in combat. That says a lot.
Yeah.
This was not that. Nubia was getting her ass kicked left and right, and it just, I don't know. It didn't seem like Nubia to me, like what I'd been accustomed to seeing her in her more recent iterations over the last several years. Because to their credit, DC's done a lot to big up this character and push her more to the last few years, to push her to the forefront. And this, to me, seemed like not a step forward. Not necessarily a full step back, but certainly a pause. There wasn't a step forward in this storyline. And as Marc said, the final issue was meh. Definitely mid. Nothing really happened. It wasn't
the motivation of the main bad was just stupid. There is no other way to say it. It was just a bad motivation for the big bad.
Yeah, and I still to this day don't understand the purpose of what Mary Marvel was in there. This seemed like almost
white chick.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to say that online, but you did it anyway. Yeah, she was definitely the token white chick. Literally. She served no purpose. If you take her out of the story still accomplishes the same thing with no changes. She literally served no purpose. This isn't the cover that I got. I got the other cover. This is a dope cover.
Yeah, that is.
This is the W. Scott Forbes cover. It is fully melanated. I love that. Nubia looks beautiful. Yara Flor looks beautiful. Fairuza looks beautiful and fierce. And here's little Mary Marvel, the smallest person on the page, because she's completely irrelevant to the story.
Yeah. I've said before, looking at that image, I've said before that had a live action version of Nubia been brought to the screen, either big or small, Retina Wesley would have been a phenomenal. Well, I'm not gonna say phenomenal, but physically, she would have been a great actress to portray that role. Now, from her acting standpoint, she's got that southern twang, and I don't know if she can get rid of it because everything that I've seen her in, which has been at this point two things, um, True Blood and Queen Sugar, have been kind of the
She's,
same character,
she's too
but
short.
from a physical standpoint, Regina Wesley would have been a good actress to play that role.
She's too short.
I don't know how tall she is, but
She's if you watch those shows, she's not tall enough to be. I think she's got the charisma. She certainly has the physique.
that's,
But I
that's
think
what I'm looking at. She's got the complexion and the physique to play the role.
right.
If
I just don't. I just
about
don't.
the fact that
I
she's
don't
under
think
5'10", and yes, I get that.
Yeah, she's not tall enough. So Nubia is definitely portrayed in
Five
the comics as
6 feet.
physically taller than most other people. Tiana Taylor could do it.
How tall is she?
I don't know, but she's taller than the person that you mentioned.
Let's see.
Go ahead.
Let's see.
Anyway, while Mark's doing that, we'll move on to the next subject here.
Tayana
Says
Taylor.
Josie Campbell.
I don't know if Tayana Taylor is that good of an actress, to be honest with you. But
I thought she was pretty well in the films I've seen of her so far.
She has this new movie coming out that she is supposedly really good in. Tayana Taylor is 5'5".
Tiana Taylor is not 5'5".
Hold on, what does it say?
Stop lying.
Okay, it says height 166 centimeters, 5'5.5" is what this says.
Wow. Derek says she's 5'4".
Okay, so she also would not be tall enough.
Yeah. Hype Style says, how tall is Nubia officially? 6'6". She looks in the comics. She looks at least 6'4".
No, I wouldn't give her that. I'd say probably
6'3".
Let's see.
Anywho, what's the next comic we got? Oh, the next comic we have was a shocker. It was kind of crept up. It was, as Mark mentioned before, a bit of a sleeper comic.
Nubia
Avengers number 12.
Nubia 6'2".
Where are you reading that?
I just Googled it.
Oh, yeah. All right. So she's taller than me. I'm 6'1". Avengers number 12. Low key, look, not a. Well, I take that back. Two prominent black characters.
I'm gonna spoil this one. Give spoilers.
What?
Give the spoiler warning thing.
Oh, the spoiler warning.
Spoil this one.
I don't know. I have to see if I can find it because Derek. You would think he would alphabetize this so that we would be easy to find the spoilers.
While Paul is bitching about Derek once again.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion. Don't look at it no matter what happens.
Don't look, Marion! Keep your eyes shut!
Okay, so the current version or iteration.
Wait, what's Jeffrey Thorne talking about? One word Monday.
What are you talking about, Mr. Thorne? What's Monday? I mean, it's the 8th, but what's happening? Listen, you can't be, secretive like that. You got to give some context.
Jeff got plenty of secrets, man. He's always dropping gems. They're like, what the hell is he talking about?
So check it. The current Avengers are made up of 7 different heroes. You've got Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, who is the leader. You've got Sam Wilson, Captain America. You have the Scarlet Witch. You have the Vision. Thor, Tony Stark, and T'Challa. They make up the current iteration of the Avengers. In this,
Definitely an all-star Avengers cast, one of the most powerful teams they've assembled. Every one of them are veteran Avengers.
yep, yeah. Um,
The
the
two
reason why
the
I
two
want
weakest, oddly enough, the two weakest power set wise guys on the team are Sam Wilson and T'Challa.
yep, the reason why I wanted Paul to give the spoiler warning is because I wanted to get into this book. And the reason why I wanted to get into this specific issue is because T'Challa features prominently in this specific issue. So in Marvel, once again, mutants in Marvel are being attacked. There's an organization called Orchis. It's made up of a bunch of regular humans and scientists who have basically made it their mission to either destroy or oust every mutant from the planet. So they're kind of like Marvel's version of the GOP when it comes to black folks, right? And so the mutants in Marvel are on the run. Tony Stark is an ally to mutants, right? He doesn't care about all that stuff. He's, regular good dude. So he has been working behind the scenes with Emma Frost and other mutants to try to oust Orchis. Now, in this book, Tony has said, okay, you know what? I wanted you Avengers to take your time. Don't do anything unless until I give the word go. Well, the word is given. So let's go ahead and start doing some stuff. And so Tony and and the Avengers are now attacking Orchis organizations and facilities across the planet. Even though Orchis is a non-governmental agency, they have weaseled their way into governments across the world. So they have bases all over the planet. And so Tony and the Avengers are now hitting them. They're hitting places where mutants are being held against their will without due process. They're hitting their reconstruction facilities because they have stolen some of Tony Stark's designs and made Sentinels, which are the mutant hunting robots that hunt mutants that are based on Tony Stark's Iron Man designs. Just all of this stuff is going on. At one of the facilities, everything goes dark. And the reason why is because T'Challa, unbeknownst to literally everybody, has already insinuated himself into the facility by giving them that facility a virus. He didn't tell Tony. He didn't tell Wakanda. He told nobody.
Let me just read the scene. Let me read the scene because this scene is
Before you do that, let me just go back to what we were saying. This goes back to what we were saying when it came to Black Panther issue 5 during the Priest run. T'Challa is always thinking 5 steps ahead, 7 steps ahead of everybody else, right? It shows just how strong of a tactician that he is. Go ahead.
So this is what the scene says. This is the Orchis base, and they're doing their little.
Shout out to Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a base in Oklahoma, where I'm from.
Who cares? It's Oklahoma. Nobody cares. All right, so they have this base, and they're like, "What is your target? What is your status? Target 2. The systems are locked. What is happening?" And then all of these symbols from T'Challa's shield that he's been wearing lately on his shoulder pop up on their screens. So understand that means he's hacked their systems, right? That's what T'Challa does. The rest of the Avengers are attacking the base, physically attacking the base. T'Challa has already hacked Orchis' systems already. And they're like secret event. And so Carol's referring to Sam and T'Challa as the Secret Avengers, basically their stealth team.
Real quick, hold on 1 second. The Secret Avengers were a group of Avengers during, I want to say, the Civil War that nobody else knew about, who were going around doing stuff, fighting against Tony underground. Go ahead.
All right. So this is the chatter. Carol's referring to calling T'Challa and saying Secret Avengers. And the Orchis guys, did you hear something? And he's like, could you please not call us that? And like, he starts kicking ass. We love to see T'Challa kick ass because the previous writer, not Eve Ewing, the one before her, had him the reverse, getting his ass kicked every issue. Kicking ass. Love to see that. Love to see it. So then T'Challa's like, I have complete control over the detention center systems. I've disabled the prisoners' control collars. Carol's like, that was quick. Hardly. My viruses have been at work for months. For months! Remember we talked about T'Challa's 5 steps ahead. Remember Marc just mentioned Tony Stark had a big meeting with the Avengers and said, look, Avengers, the Orcus are really going after the mutants. I know we're probably all feeling some kind of way about this, and we want to attack Orcus and defend the mutants because they're wiping them out, but everybody needs to be on pause until the time is right. T'Challa took that moment months ago and said, oh, okay. Let me go ahead and plant the virus because at some point we're going to invade these people and I want to be ready and be able to take over. This man, 5 steps ahead, months ago, already implanted the virus on these people. So he goes, hardly. My virus has been at work for months. And Carol's like, you didn't tell me that, T'Challa. And she's like, I'm team leader. Like, you're not telling me, you're doing things, you're not telling me about it. He's like, there are many things I don't tell you, Carol. City, prepare for visitors, please. The guy is so deadpan and cold with it.
Let me interject this. Okay, so T'Challa is talking to City. One of the things that's interesting to me about Marvel Comics is that there have been, at this point that I can recall, at least 3 sentient spaceships, right? You had Scuttlebutt, who was Beta Ray Bill's spaceship over in Thor comics, who was a sentient spaceship. You had Ship, who was the ship of Apocalypse over in X Factor, the first run of X Factor, who was a sentient ship, who we also saw during the animated series back in the early 90s. And now you have this ship. Basically, the Avengers defeated this group. What were they called? The group that they defeated to get the ship.
To get the ship?
The group that the Avengers defeated in the first 8 to 10 issues. I don't remember their name now, but
I don't remember the name.
Whatever the villain's name were during the first 8 to 10 issues, issues of the book, they had a sentient ship. The Avengers defeated them and took over the sentient ship as their new base. So this makes it at least the 3rd sentient ship in Marvel Comics, and I think that's pretty interesting to me. So basically, the ship has the ability to teleport mass numbers of people. So what they're doing is they're freeing all these mutants who are being held without due process, without lawyers, blah, blah, blah. There are gitmos all over the planet holding mutants. And so the Avengers are going into these facilities, taking them out, and then the ship is transporting them up into space so they can be safe. So yeah.
Hype Style talks about Monday is the eclipse. Here in Texas, people are flocking to small towns to check it out.
Okay.
So that must be what Jeff was referring to with
what else were some of the other comments? Because I didn't see.
I just went through them. Pericles says the Gap Band is from
Oklahoma. The Gap Band is from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as I've mentioned, I think here, Gap are the first letters of Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, which are streets that bordered the Black Wall Street. So that's where that comes from. Yes.
Awesome. And that is your Black History moment. I would play our.
We need a video for that. How about that?
What?
We need a video for that, a Black History moment video.
We do, but of course it's not labeled in alphabetical order here, so I can't find it.
But that being said, this issue, I collect
Message.
You done?
I could be.
I'm gonna wait. You got another one? Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Oh no, 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 no.
Okay, that one didn't make no sense. But that being said,
What you talking about?
stop. I collect Avengers. This issue right here was really good because it featured T'Challa, and I really liked it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
This issue or the series in general?
This issue.
This issue, I'd give it a strong 8.
Damn!
Oh my God, you were just waiting to use that. I should have known. But yeah, I'm enjoying the book, and I enjoyed this issue specifically. But yeah, so that was it for Avengers.
I still don't have enough likes from you people, by the way. I'm very disappointed. We're taking our time here, trying to entertain you. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button.
So Eye the Watcher says Greenwood. Yes, Greenwood is the first G in the Gap band. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine.
And you said those are the streets that border the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma.
Correct. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was destroyed in 1921 due to racist white folks who burned out Black Wall Street.
Domestic terrorists.
Yep, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Yes, absolutely.
So, any other comments that we go through before we go to Killadelphia?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I just hit the like button. I forgot about it.
Well, thank you, Eye of the Watcher. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to take a moment to just take a second right now and hit the like button? It's right there. It's literally right there.
Follow.
Like and hit the subscribe button. All right. So, what's our next book?
Killadelphia. Now,
Killadelphia number 34.
Yeah.
So
right now in Killadelphia, there's a war going on between light and dark.
Like a race war?
Huh?
Like a race war?
I'm not going to say that. But there's a war between light and dark. Now, typically people think of vampires and werewolves specifically being in the dark. But in the Killadelphia world, there are quote unquote good vampires and good werewolves. The Savage Dragon, which I did not realize is the son of the original Savage Dragon.
Malcolm Dragon
started back in 1991, 92, whenever it was. There was a character called Savage Dragon who was a green man with a big old fin on his head. I don't really recall much about the character because although I collected the book, haven't read it in 20-something years. I didn't know that the character had died, but before his death, he had a son. The Savage Dragon that we see on the cover of this book is the son of the original Savage Dragon. The son sees vampires and werewolves and automatically thinks those are the enemy, let me kill them. Well, he's taken to the spirit realm or purgatory where his pops is, and his pop says, look, I know you, son, see everything in black and white, but things aren't always black and white. And so without giving any more spoilers than that, that's where we stand, where he is trying to make a decision on actually what side he's going to be on and who his actual allies are. Another part of this is Blackula makes an appearance. Did you say that Blackula has his own book or something?
You're kidding me, right? You haven't read the Blackula book yet?
I haven't, because I haven't seen it in my comic store.
Yeah, dude, you gotta go order that, man. That's a dope book. That was a real, like, no BS aside. I mean, that was a dope book, man. You need to go get that book.
Yeah.
If you like Killadelphia, you definitely like Blackula. But yeah, this book is really an appetizer. I found it frustrating because it's an appetizer. An appetizer for the meal that we're going to get in the next issue. The next issue, we're having the coming together of Spawn, Savage Dragon, and Blackula, all within the Killadelphia universe.
And all those are black characters.
Huh?
All of those are black characters.
All of those are original black characters. That's going to be a dope moment in comics to have all four of those universes all merged into one. Shout out to Rodney Barnes, who has the dopest book on the shelves every month. I'm really looking forward to the next issue.
One of the things that's interesting to me now, I have several different.
Derek's telling you the Blackula graphic novel is from Zombie Love Studios.
I definitely will. I definitely will. But one of the things now, I have Image Comics, of course, but one of the things about that seems different from Image versus Marvel and DC is there rarely seem to be any interconnectivity between the characters because
In
each
Image?
book is its own thing.
Are you talking about an Image Comics?
Yes.
Yeah, Image doesn't do the unified universe.
Image doesn't do crossovers the way that Marvel and DC are one connected universe. You can have a Thor comic book and it's nothing to see Spider-Man or Captain America or somebody like that pop up in a Thor book, or any book that is in one of those companies have a character not associated with that title pop up in that book. For example, over in DC, you see a Batman book, it wouldn't surprise you if Wonder Woman or Green Arrow or Green Lantern popped up in the Batman book. In the Image books that I've read, rarely do I ever see characters from other parts of that universe pop up in the book. In the Killadelphia book, right now, we see Spawn, who is the longest running Black character in comics ever, pop up, as well as now the Savage Dragon. And so I think that that's very interesting. And this is very extremely rare, as far as I know. I don't recall what they did back in the 90s and 2000s, but here in the year of our Lord 2024, showing these characters interconnecting with each other is something rare, I think.
It's pretty cool. It's definitely
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
As I said, this was the appetizer issue. Next issue will be the meal, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm all here for it.
Now, what's interesting about Rodney Barnes specifically when it comes to writers, and I don't recall any other writers really doing this, is that you have what would be labeled the A story, which of course is Killadelphia.
Yeah.
But towards the back of the book, and he did this in earlier on with a different story, but in the back of the book,
Elysium Fields,
got a character known as Johnny Gatlin, who was basically a gunslinger. And this was probably about 8 or 10 pages of story involving this specific character. I just sent Rodney Barnes a tweet earlier tonight, and he retweeted it saying that I would love to have an independent Johnny Gatlin book. Rodney Barnes also wrote Nita Hawes' Nightmare Blog, and I don't recall if she started off in the back of Killadelphia or he just made her own book automatically. I just don't remember.
She was in her own book automatically, and she's in this Killadelphia book as well.
She is in this Killadelphia book. They all inhabit the same universe, the same world. But I say all that to say that's what it was. So in Rodney Barnes' early Killadelphia work, when you had these, the Sangstroms talking about whatever was going on in Philadelphia, in the back of the book, the B story would be the story of the werewolves and how they came to be early on back, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And now they popped up in current, 21st century.
From Elysium Fields was the name of the story.
Right. I don't know if Johnny Gatlin is going to make an appearance in the main continuity, but the fact that this B story is there and it's really good, I would like to see him get a full treatment and not just be the afterthought of Killadelphia.
Well, Johnny Gatlin had appeared on Rodney Barnes' Zombie Love Studios Substack account. If you were participating in his Substack, you could read his comics on that place there. But it's an answer to Mark's question. This does sort of take place sort of simultaneously, as evidence. I believe so, as evident by the fact that they're interacting with Coulson, who's the main sort of antagonist in the Killadelphia universe. Johnny Gatlin is, for all intents and purposes, a bit of a Ghost Rider / Punisher type character. In life in 1832, he was a gunslinger who did a lot of bad things, but he had a family that he cared about. And he pissed off the wrong people. They killed his family as a result. He felt some type of way of it and decided that he, despite the fact that he was killed, he wasn't going to stay dead. Made his deal with the devil to be one of the devil's henchmen for the collection of souls. And now he's kind of pushing back.
It's a very good story. It's a very interesting story.
Great concept.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Really am. So what comments do we have?
Jay is asking, would y'all like the Elysium Gardens Substack issues get put into the omnibus? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to have, I think what Marc was saying, because I don't think he was aware of the Substack, is to have all those issues put into one book. That'd be dope. Louisiana Kid says, I know I'm a little bit late, but I just finished reading Black Hammer Reborn, Black Hammer The Ending, and Tales of the Orishas this week. Great reads. I haven't read Black Hammer Reborn. I read the Black Hammers, the 2 volumes before that, by Jeff Lemire. He's a great writer. Tales of the Orishas is one of the most slept on books. I think everyone should get it from Megascope Comics, Abrams imprint, which is owned by our boy John. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh wow, I'm having a brain fart. It must be too much liquor. Anyway, Tales of the Orishas. I can't remember the name of the writer. Is Cantu. He's Brazilian. The original version is Portuguese, and they translated it into English. Brilliantly drawn book, written book. Something that can easily be taken up by any of the major big 2 if they wanted to. But it's a brilliant and beautiful book. I highly recommend it for everyone. All right.
Any other comments?
Derek says John Jennings. Yes, I know John Jennings. Sorry. I was trying to remember the name of the artist, the writer and artist of the book. I only remember his last name is Cantu. I can't remember his first name. Hugo Cantu, Louisiana Kid. Thank you very much. Hugo Cantu.
Cool.
All right. So what's our next book?
The very last book that we have this week is an old book. And when I say old, I mean the print date on this. God, that writing
An
is small.
oldie but a goodie.
Jesus, that writing is small. Excuse my glasses. 1986. Some of y'all might not even been born then. This is Legends. And the reason why this book is important, this is the first appearance of Amanda Waller, aka Chick Fury, as our boy Chillmonger calls her.
I did not know that he referred to that. I must have missed that episode, but that's actually.
Well, I was on his show talking about something I can't remember, but that's when he referred to Amanda Waller as Chick Fury. And the reason why I wanted to mention this book, first off, I just bought this book last week, number 1. Number 2, in DC Comics, Amanda Waller has featured prominently across several different titles over the past few years. From Suicide Squad, because she's always in charge of the Suicide Squad, to the Teen Titans, Beast World storyline, to other things. Amanda Waller is featured prominently, and she is that chick. And as I've said before, I have a great deal of respect and admiration for this character because she has absolutely zero superpowers. She is a bureaucrat. She is a governmental agent who runs an organization, and she be running caca. That's how bad she is. And so this book is her first appearance. And Paul can bring up her first interaction with a character named Steele, who is a soldier, right?
Well,
And so
Rick Flag.
it was Rick Flag. Was it Rick Flag? I thought it was
Yeah.
Steele. Colonel.
I thought
Okay.
it was Rick Flag.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Rick Flag, who made his appearance in the first Suicide Squad movie with Will Smith before he slapped Chris Rock, he's basically a soldier. You know, he follows order. Yeah, Rick Flag. And so he's busting into this office because he's been sent there to the Office of Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad. And we don't see who he's speaking to. We just see that person talking to him. And he's given his orders. And Rick is reading his orders and show what he says to the person he's talking to about the orders that he's given.
Look, let's get one thing straight right up front, lady. When I learned Task Force X was being reactivated and I had myself reassigned here, this isn't exactly what I was expecting. Well, life is just full of little surprises, Colonel, such as Task Force X's first candidates. He looks at it. What? Come on, you can't be serious. Are you out of your cotton picking mind, lady?
Okay, let's stop right there. You know, nowadays in the 21st century, we don't really think about that phrase and the context and what it means. Anybody who's paid any attention to American history knows that Africans were kidnapped and trafficked to what we now know as the United States to basically do the work that white folks didn't want to do, specifically agricultural work. Specifically
To
working
build America for free.
Specifically working out in the fields, literally picking cotton. Now, Rick Flag says this. Now, we don't know who he's talking to. You know, we see the hand or whatever, but he's like, look, you are out of your cotton picking mind, which means that you, individual that I'm talking to, pick cotton and you're crazy. Now, this person that he's talking to takes umbrage to that statement. And her response to that is this.
Frankly, I couldn't be more serious, Colonel. And by the way, if you ever again call anything about me cotton picking, mister, I'll stuff those bright, shiny eagles on your shoulders so far up your butt, they'll be able to nest in your skull. We clear on that? He's
Now,
like,
this is what I want you guys to understand, okay? These were white writers who created this character, right? But even in the 1980s, they created this black character to be strong and no nonsense. And I have a great deal of respect for that. She sat up here
and they
and
apparently try to make her feel the view that she was.
She was like, look, watch how you talk to me before I whoop your ass. And I have the greatest deal of respect for that. I really do. And I really, really love this character. Amanda Waller is one of my favorite comic book characters. If you haven't picked up on that, I love this character. And I love how she's portrayed in this is her very first appearance. That, you know, I don't like how she's drawn here, but understand, this is her very first appearance in comics. And we as the readers, if you were reading this back in 1986, which I did not, but basically what we know is we have a black woman who is no nonsense, who is running shit. And I like that. She's the
Amanda
HBI.
Waller, for all intents and purposes, maybe not is, but should be considered a A-level character in DC Comics.
Yeah.
Because when you think about the volume of work, her bibliography in terms of books that she's been in.
Yep.
The fact that she has had appearances in both television and movies and in cartoons. The fact that she even has an action figure, which is hard to find, but she does have an action figure. She checks all the boxes of being an A-list character.
She does.
But the only reason she is not been made one is she has not been promoted as such.
Right.
But she should, for all intents and purposes, be an A-list character in the DC universe. If you are a black comic collector, this is a book that you honestly you need to have in your collection.
Right.
There's just no way you should not have this book. For one, it's not very expensive. You can buy a raw copy, honestly, probably for $20 on eBay. Which is ridiculously underpriced for a character of this stature, of this magnitude in the DC universe. And
right.
you know, shout out to DC. They're bigging her up right now, but they're giving her more of a villainous lean. Like they're building towards her being this major big bad villain.
I wouldn't say that she's amoral. She's all about the mission.
That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that she's never really been a villain. She's just been an amoral patriot. She'll do whatever it takes to protect America.
Yep.
But the way she's recently been portrayed with the Beast Wars and making deals with the devil that you saw recently in the Titans book, she is being portrayed more of a power-hungry, ambitious villain type. I don't agree with that, but you know, want to let it unfold and see where they're going to go with it. But I don't personally consider her a villain.
To me, she's not.
If she's a villain, then Nick Fury's a villain.
Right. Walpole says that there's another book that you should consider picking up. It's called it's called Waller v. Wildstorm. It's a magazine-sized book that features Amanda Waller, and it has some Image comic characters named, what's his name? Battlefront? Battalion, right. So basically, the Waller v. Wildstorm book, as of right now, has had 3 issues drop. And basically, Amanda Waller, the storyline shows Amanda Waller how she got to be in charge of, I want to say, Checkmate, perhaps, which is one of the DC's governmental entities. They're not like the Justice League, but they are basically a spy. They're S.H.I.E.L.D. They are DC's version of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what they are. And
there was 4 issues.
I only have 3. I don't know that the 4th issue has dropped yet because I only have 3 of them.
Well, then you need to step your game up, dude.
No, my game is straight, but I don't.
Your game is never straight. I always have to tell you.
My game is always straight. My game has been straighter than your game, Paul.
Like your comic book game is stronger than mine. Oh man, I would take money on that any day of the week.
What was the release date? Because I don't have that 4th issue.
December 12th.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, so I don't have that one.
Yeah,
I need to
your comic game is clearly stronger than mine.
That being said, the way that we think of Samuel L. Jackson is synonymous with Nick Fury. We should be thinking about this. We should be thinking the same way about Viola Davis and Amanda Waller. Samuel Jackson has made Nick Fury an A-list character because of his acting and things of that nature, right?
Look, hold on, just pause. Frustrated says she looks like Nell Cowder from the TV show Give Me a Break. She absolutely does.
And that makes sense.
She would have been the perfect actress to play her back in the day.
That makes perfect sense. Yep.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Yeah. So Amanda Waller, like Paul said, should be an A-list character. She has been in cartoons. She's been in TV series. She has been in live action movies. There have been 3 actresses to play her live action. She should be, as a character, more popular than she is. And I will always big up her. I love that character. Absolutely love that character. So go ahead, start at the beginning because I didn't see those while you were scrolling through. I didn't see.
I already did.
I did not see because I was talking, so that's kind of irritating why you do that while I'm talking.
You gotta read and talk at the same time like a normal human being. I know you can't chew gum and walk at the same time.
It would be nice if you would wait until I finish.
You're so remedial. So remedial. All right. The reason you can't find the figure is because it came in a 3-pack, so you can't find it. Hype Style says, "Oh wow, Waller very rare in the 1980s for a civilian black boss character at Marvel. Closest might have been Joe Robertson at Daily Bugle, and yes, he was balancing Jonah Jameson." Frustrated Fan Show says, "No, it was 4 issues. All the issues are out."
Yeah, I don't know why it was on my pull list, so I don't know why don't have issue 4. So I'll be calling them tomorrow.
Someone else whose comic game is stronger than yours. That final issue really shows you why Amanda Waller is the way she is.
Yeah, I love the character. I've said it many times before. Absolutely love that character.
All right. I think we're going to take another commercial break. So before we get into our What You Watching segment. But I don't know what we're going to play, so I'll just play this.
I left my Method Man book. Oh, that's gonna get signed by Meth. Wow.
I got 3 hip hops in the bag.
I might need to buy one off of you. Yo, you gonna owe this.
What?
What?
What is going on?
Nigga, what? Every record right okay. Hey, yo. Hey, Miss O.
What's good? This is unexpected.
Let's go, man. Let's go. Every record is perfect what we do, man.
How you doing?
What's up, boy?
What's going on?
Have you ever wanted to read a story with a poetic musical twist? Batman Jazz is that John, written by Gerard Jones and illustrated by Marc Badger. The story is about a legendary jazz musician and his desire to play jazz when and where he wants to. There are lots of twists and turns in this story, but suffice to say that Bluebird, who the story is about, shares more than his love for jazz, but he makes a point to teach Batman a thing or two. It's a great story, it's gritty, it's poetic, it's reflective, it's aptly titled Batman Jazz. It's a 3-issue mini. I'm sure you will enjoy it. It'll be a welcome addition to your collection. And please, if you like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for listening. Peace.
And now we're moving on to our What You Watching portion.
All right. So we all know, if you're a comic book collector and reader, that in 1966, a couple of Jewish dudes created a character by the name of who went by the code name of Black Panther, aka T'Challa. We also know, if you're a student of American history, that a couple of dudes by the name of Bobby Seale and what was the other guy's name? Bobby Seale. It'll come to me in a minute. But Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the character of Black Panther around February or so, 1966. Bobby Seale and his partner, whose name escapes me because I've had about 4 drinks, created the Black Panther Civic Organization in Oakland, California. Prior to 1966, there was a group of individuals known as the Black Panther, aka 761st Tank Battalion. They were a group of segregated, the U.S. military was segregated up until Harry S. Truman created an executive order integrating all the military units, right? But prior to that, especially during World War II, military was segregated. You had your black and you had your black soldiers, you had your white soldiers. Well, there was a black tank battalion known as the 761st. There is a documentary on Hulu that describes and discusses the 761st. It is narrated and pretty much hosted by the great Morgan Freeman. It tells the story of these brave men who, even though they didn't have freedoms here in the United States, were sent to Europe to fight for quote unquote freedom. The show is about an hour and a half long, and it is very good. And it highlights the fact that there are so many stories out there of American history that involves black folks that is not discussed. This series, shows you the descendants of, matter of fact, one of the storylines is actually one of the guys. He was about 90 something years old. He actually fought in World War II and was one of the Black Panthers. These guys are the original Black Panther, not T'Challa, not Bobby Seale, not the fellas in Oakland. These are the original Black Panthers. And I actually just ordered me a shirt from Amazon of this unit that I hope to have within the next couple of days. These were brave men who were fighting for their country, even though their country didn't love them. Um, I mentioned these guys who, as a veteran myself, I respect any veteran who came before me, especially the black folks who put their lives on the line, even though they didn't have the full benefit of being an American citizen. There was a book that I read that was also about another unit that was fighting during World War II. The book is called Forgotten. This is the show. Even though it says it's a History Channel show, you can find it on Hulu if you have access to Hulu. But along with that, there is the story of the I think it's the 331st Balloon Battalion. And basically what these brothers did was, back in the day, before smart bombs and drones and things of that nature, you had airplanes that would come and strafe and bomb static positions. This unit had balloons, basically dirigibles, that they would be responsible for manning to prevent the German fighters from coming and strafing static positions. So if you have the ability to pick up this book, it should be on Amazon. It's called Forgotten. And so I mentioned these two things to show how Black history is American history. The 761st and the 332nd, I think. I could be wrong on that. But these two things should very well have more attention than it does. And it would be nice if we could have movies about these folks. We had Red Tails that was produced by Steven Spielberg about 10 years ago at this point. But a lot of our stories.
George Lucas.
I'm sorry?
And George Lucas did the Red Tails.
With George, right. What's my man's name who did Beyond the Lights? He also did
Nate Parker.
Nate Parker. Nate Parker was one of the stars of that movie. The movie itself wasn't great, but the story that it tells is important. Black folks have been involved in American history since before America was America. And the story of the Black Panthers on Hulu is an important one. So I would encourage you folks to read it, to watch it. I would encourage you folks to pick up the book, The Forgotten, to talk about other brave men who gave their lives in service of this country. And I want to say that if memory serves, because I read the book about a year or so ago, but if memory serves, they served during the invasion of Normandy. If you watch Saving Private Ryan, directed by the great Steven Spielberg, which highlighted the Normandy invasion, you didn't see a black face in that movie. Black people were there, but their stories just weren't told. So I would encourage you folks to watch that series and read the book.
The Watcher says, I think I might have a reproduction of that patch.
And I think I have a jean jacket that I think I'm going to start customizing. And I want to say that may be a patch that I will add to it myself. Yeah.
That t-shirt idea is a good one. I think I would love to get a t-shirt with the 761st patch on it.
The t-shirt, if you go on Amazon and put in 761st Black Panthers, t-shirts will come up. They're $19. Like I said, I ordered mine about a week or so ago. I'm still waiting on it to get here. So
I'm definitely gonna do that.
Yeah. And you get it there's like 10 or 12 different colors that you can get it in. I got mine in army green.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. The other show that I'm watching is called Parish, that stars the phenomenal Giancarlo Esposito, aka
that man is a treasure,
aka Big Brother Almighty, aka
Really?
Moff Gideon, aka Gus Fring, aka the brother is a badass. Basically, the show it's a series, right? And I want to say there are either 6 or 8 episodes. They are on AMC and they drop every week on Sundays. Episode 1 dropped last week. Now, I'm going to be completely frank, as I always am. Episode 1 was okay. It didn't blow my skirt up. It was all right. Basically, Giancarlo Esposito's character is a former, for lack of a better term, thug. He was a wheelman. Think transporter. Think the transporter with a family. He's married to a white chick. He has 2 kids. His son somehow, some way, has died, so he's only left with his daughter. So he's a husband. He's a father. He gets drawn back into the world of criminality due to one of his longtime friends. This character is different than the character that we see him playing in The Boys, obviously the character that he plays in the Star Wars universe, and he was also in The Gentleman. The Gentleman was phenomenal series. He features heavily in that. If you have not seen The Gentleman on Hulu, highly recommend that.
Netflix.
What I said, Hulu? Yes, he was in the Gentleman was a Netflix series. Yes, in that series, he's a very suave, sophisticated character. In Parish, he's just a dude trying to get by who can drive really, really good. This show is a mix between Baby Driver, Drive Fast, and, as I said, The Transporter. Again, episode 1, it wasn't great to me, but I am looking forward to some of the other episodes. One of the things I find interesting is that he's basically working for an African cartel. And we are seeing actors who have Africanized names. I don't know any of these actors. I've never seen them that I recall in anything else. But I like the fact that we have people who look like us, who are very good actors, who are giving very strong meaty roles, who are being introduced to American audiences. I don't know if they're known across the pond. I don't know any of that. This is my first interaction with a lot of these actors in this show. So I am looking forward to the episodes coming out. I will say, though, that episode 1 was not overwhelming. It was okay, but I am looking forward to
it. All right. Frustrated fan says, I saw Black Ice and the Freaknik docs.
I don't know what Black Ice is. The Freaknik doc was underwhelming. Freaknik was a spring party here in Atlanta that was started by the like the DC, Virginia, Maryland clubs back in the 80s. It was an event. It blew up in the 90s. I got here to Morehouse after my military service, and my first year here in Atlanta was in 1994. Freaknik was huge. Biggie performed at Piedmont Park. I saw Biggie live at Piedmont Park. It was an absolute event. So I would encourage you to watch the Freaknik doc, but it was underwhelming because I feel that it should have been about maybe 3 episodes of 1 hour each that dealt with different aspects of that experience. I don't know what Black Ice is about, though. Do you have any idea?
I do not.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Bo Big says, go check out Parish. It was filmed here in New Orleans.
Okay, so you're in New Orleans, right? It's clearly a New Orleans show. It was okay to me. It wasn't great, but again, I am looking forward to it.
All right. The only thing I have to report, I didn't get to finish watching Star Trek Discovery, which just dropped this week.
Oh.
I was tired. I didn't get to finish watching the episode. But what I did finally get to see, I'm very behind on the 8 ball on this because it came out basically almost a month ago, was Dune Part 2. I absolutely love this movie.
You saw it in the theater, or you?
I saw it in the theater. Finally, I didn't get to see it in IMAX, which was my original intent, but I did see it in the theater. I'm a big fan of Frank Herbert. I read the book when I was a kid. Oddly enough, my grandfather had it in his library, and that's where I first discovered the book. I didn't even know my grandfather was into sci-fi. It was weird, but he was into all types of eclectic books. Had a huge library.
Your mom's dad or your dad's dad?
My dad's dad. He had a very, very huge, extensive library, and one of the books he randomly had in there was Frank Herbert's Dune. So that was my first exposure to the book, and then I obviously saw the movie. David Lynch's movie from 1984, which was an excellent film. I don't care what anybody says. I love that movie. And he did what he could at the time with 1984 technology to represent that world. If you ever get a chance to watch it, definitely watch the extended cut, the director's cut, much more detailed in terms of details from the books. Much better than the shorter theatrical version. I also watched the Dune version the Sci-Fi Channel did, a mini series. Because it was a mini series, they got to go a little bit more into more of the books. But it's kind of limited by the Sci-Fi Channel budget. But they did what they could. This had a lot more of the David Lynch sort of style. But with 21st century theatrical and cinematic techniques and technology and effects, epic story. Even though I knew how it was going to end.
Are there going to be more movies, or this is it?
Huh?
Are there going to be more movies, or this is it?
It's set up. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but it's definitely set up to be more movies because there's more books after this. Children of Dune, what have you. But God, this is a really epic film, man. It was 2 hours and 46 minutes. It works your bladder, but you're not sitting there going, this movie is going slow. I'm looking at my watch. It's nothing like that. It's involved. It feels like you're almost watching 2 movies in one. Putting these movies back to back, Dune 1 and Dune 2, is really an epic event. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It was better than the first one. Better than the first. And I like the first one. This one's even better. This is the first one times 10. Highly recommend Dune Part 2. I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
Has anybody, before we get out of here, has anybody in the comments watched the Book of Clarence yet? I'm curious to know if anybody else has seen that.
No. But Frustrated says Black Ice is about blacks who actually were big in hockey and created some moves that are huge in hockey. Okay. So that's that.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else?
No, that was it. That was
all right. Well, everyone, thank you for sharing your time with us. We've been here exactly 2 hours.
Exactly 2 hours. That's a great show.
All right. So look, if you haven't already, please, I beg of you, let me get on my knees. I won't get on my knees because I'm too old. Please hit the like button. And subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to us already. It costs you literally nothing.
Follow, subscribe.
But it helps us out tremendously. It helps our algorithm, helps other people. Share these videos. Just take a second, share it with your friends. Say, hey, there's some good guys. You might want to watch this video. It helps us out. It really does. So until next time, Mark, you good?
I'm good. Thank you guys for following along with us tonight for the past 2 hours. See you next time.
All right. Black Comic Lords, we got you.